All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this week's Q&A. If this is your first time or you're new to using Zoom, if you look along the bottom of the screen, there's a row of buttons. One of them is called Reactions. It has a little heart icon. If you click that, it will let you raise your hand. There's a button to raise your hand. And that will indicate to us that you have a question, and we will call on you in turn. So we're going to probably give another minute or two just to let a few more people shuffle in, and then we'll get started. Okay, so I'm sure some others will file in as we go, but I guess we can go ahead and get started. So again, if you're unfamiliar with the interface, along the bottom below the biggest picture you see on screen is a row of buttons. One of them is labeled Reactions with a little heart icon. You click that, and then you'll see a button to raise your hand. That's how you let us know that you have a question to ask, and we will call on you in the turn we see the hands raised. So feel free, whoever wants to start us off, raise your hand.
How do you raise your hand again?
Apparently you've got it there, Kathy. We can hear you, so go ahead and ask your question. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I don't have a question. I have a statement. My statement is it's very nice to finally meet you in person and to see what someone looks like. So I know we've talked on many occasions. You've been very helpful on a lot of things with me, and I just connect better with people when I can see them. So I'm glad to see you today.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I'm glad to be seen. It's good to see you as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh,
All right, hey, Kathy, go ahead.
okay, I have another question. Is there already somewhere in SMART where it separates out the agents? So if I wanted to quickly compare my route pieces to my store pieces without having to go down and click on 10 different routes, is there an easier way to do that?
So do you mean in reporting?
Yes. Like someone said to me, how many route pieces did you have last week versus store pieces?
Oh, okay.
The way I'm doing is taking way too long.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, we can actually set up a KPI that is grouped. Instead of grouping it by agent, we can group it by agent type.
Okay.
And that would simply separate into 3 different categories, where store agents, route agents, and group agents, if you have any. And then you'll see the aggregate figures for each of those categories instead of for individual routes.
Perfect.
So yeah, if you contact support, we can help you set that one up.
Okay.
All right. And I think I saw, Jorge, did you raise your hand? If you have a question, feel free to raise your hand again and we'll call on you.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
How are we doing?
My question is there an easier way for a customer to add up how many pounds they did in wash, dry, fold a month? I think the only way to find out right now is if they go to each individual invoice, and I'm not even sure if they can see it on their end, but print out like they have to go to each individual invoice and analyze it. Is there a tally on their end, on my end? Because that's what I have to do as well, to tell them, look, this is how many pounds you did a month. Is there
Gotcha. Okay, so
a number? Go ahead.
Yeah, so there are a couple ways to do that, and it will depend on the context a little. A lot of times if someone's asking me a question like that, they're asking because they have a wash and fold subscription, and they want to understand how SMART tracks that subscription or verify the tracking. Is this about a subscription or just more about general reporting?
Both. Both. Some people don't necessarily jump into subscriptions, but they do wash and fold regularly throughout the month. And so that's where I would like to explain, kind of tally it up at the end of the month. Say, hey, you do so many pounds. maybe this subscription is the best fit for you. So I'm trying to figure out what's the easiest way
Okay.
to tally that up for them.
Gotcha. So this is another situation where a KPI could certainly come in handy. We can help you build a KPI report where all you have to do is replace the customer ID with whatever customer you're interested in, and then it'll spit out the data for that customer for, say, the previous month or the current month, whatever. And then you could print that out or email it to them, something like that. Or another possibility, off the top of my head, I'm not sure how they display on invoices, but it might also be viable to generate an invoice for the month on their account, and I think the invoice may show the count of in pounds. I don't think it uses the unit pounds, like it doesn't say LB anywhere, but I think it will give you that count.
Okay.
And in either of those cases, support can help you get that set up or figure that out.
Okay. I'll talk to them. Thank you.
All right. Yep. Erica, did you try to raise your hand there? If you did, feel free to ask your question.
Yes, I have actually two questions.
Okay.
The first one is I always try to keep a track of the items that a customer drop off. So create the work order, which we write down how many pieces they are. How can I go back and see without having to save the actually work orders?
So, okay, I'm sorry. So do you mean when you create an order, you enter a piece count before
Yes.
detailing, right? And then you want to go back later and you want to see what number you typed in?
Correct.
Okay, I can help you with that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen in just a second. I'm going to show you exactly where you can see that. All right. Okay, everybody should be able to see my screen here now. Zoom in a little bit. I'm just going to go to a test account. Detail an order. I'm going to put in 3 pieces. Create the order. And I don't actually even have to detail anything because when I come to the history tab here on the customer's account, if I hold my mouse pointer over the order number for the order I just created, you can see it gives me a little tooltip and it says created by admin on 1/28/25 at 11:09 a.m. with 3 pieces originally counted. That will always tell you what number you entered in the new order box. Even if you detailed a different number of pieces, it'll still tell you the number you typed in. So that's how you can check that.
So whatever number we type in, it's the one that is going to show there regardless how many pieces we invoice, correct?
Exactly, yes. So the number that appears here where it says pieces, that's the actual number that got detailed. In this case, I didn't detail any, so it assumed the number. But if I detailed a different number, maybe I detailed 4 pieces, but I told it I only had 3, this would say 4. I'm sorry, the piece count here in this column would say 4. But when I hover over the order number, that tooltip will say 3.
Okay.
Oh, can you not see the tooltip on my screen, Chair? Okay, so I apologize that you guys can't see this. So when I hold the mouse so that it's highlighting the order number, there's a little black box that comes up with some text in it. I just read out that text, but it contains that information. And if you guys enter, if you enter piece counts when you create orders, you should be able to see the same thing on your system.
Okay. Can I ask the other question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When you are detailing the order, usually what I make my staff to do is, if it's a suit and we wanted to make sure that it goes together, just split the order and invoice those 2 pieces alone. The other day I was watching some instructions on your website, and it said that we can relate it. So that way, Metal Payeri can actually invoice it together without us having to split the order.
Mhm.
But I couldn't find it out. So is there a specific way or settings that we have to do?
Okay, if you give me a quick second, I need to check on one thing about that. I'll be right back for you.
Okay.
Okay, Erica. So, from what I understand, you have a metal projetti conveyor, and that restricts some of our options. It means that the feature that you're referring to, which is called associated barcodes, it actually doesn't work with metal projetti, and that's just a side effect of the way Smart and metal projetti talk to each other. However, there may be another option where we could maybe use a special care to mark things that need to be assembled together. We just put the same special care on, say, 2 or 3 items. We want all to be bagged together, and then we create an assembly rule that looks for that special care, and whenever it finds it on items, it makes sure they go in the same bag. So
Okay.
that would be a viable solution, and we can help you get that set up as well. Yeah, so that ought to cover it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Oh, and in case anyone missed it earlier or forgot, if you're new to Zoom, if you would like to raise your hand to ask to be called on to ask a question, you'll see there's a row of buttons along the bottom underneath your picture or whoever's picture is biggest in your window. One of them says reactions and has a heart icon on it. If you click that, you'll see another button that says raise hand. If you click that, we'll get a little notification and we'll be able to call on you and answer your question. And there's Alan. All right, let's see if we can get him.
There we go.
Unmuted? There we go.
Yeah.
Hi, Alan.
Yeah, I have a couple of things I wanted to look at. One, I don't know if this is available. I'm looking for, I've got a couple of customers that have a kind of a centralized billing system. So they require an invoice, not a statement, per transaction. And right now they're set up as statement accounts, and I end up manually creating in effect, an invoice, which just has the month activity, and then converting it into a PDF and shipping it off. I'm getting some pushback from some new people who are handling some of these accounts. They're all, it's basically all doctor office related, going into a central payment, entity. What I'm trying to do is, when you look at, when they pull up their account, through the link, they'll see the tickets, which are basically called invoices. So when you actually print them or anything, it says invoice number, and it's our ticket number.
Sure.
Is there any way to have those just automatically generated one by one and send them? Like when we
automatically
order or whatever, but it can't be
create an order.
Yeah,
we would want to automatically email the invoice for that order.
Right, and probably at the completion of the order, as soon as we finished and it's ready to deliver, something like that. That's what we would normally, just like it would hit our system, it would become a receivable at the time it's done.
Gotcha. Okay. And strictly speaking, is this requirement, well, let me ask you this. Do they process more than one order in a given day often?
Oh yeah, because we may have multiple tickets that are going, that are being delivered. Now, we pick up and deliver twice a week. So in this particular case, we pick up, say, on Monday, and they may have, 2 lab coats. Well, we usually put lab coats on separate tickets, just the way we package. Well, if they both get pressed the same day and then put on the conveyor the same day, they'll be completed, but there will be 2 tickets that were, in effect, completed on the same day. So yeah, it would be trying to send each one of those individually through an email.
Okay.
To the computerized system is where those go, and from that, I don't know how I would get it. The other thing that the system doesn't allow is emailing multiple people that I can tell. So when it goes out, yeah, you can only bill one person. You can't send it like for review to somebody else too.
So actually, we can. I'll start with that point because it's the simpler one to address. Yeah, in the billing email field on a customer profile, you can enter an email address and a comma and another email address and another comma and another as many times as you like. There may be some limit, but you can certainly get half a dozen in there easily.
So just put the commas in.
Right, no spaces, just email, comma, email, and so on. Yep. And that only works for the billing email. It does not work for the regular email. Now, as far as their requirement to get their invoices emailed, so there's an invoice format option in Smart that attaches separate invoices for each order to the billing invoice. Are you familiar with that? And do you know if that would be compatible with the system?
I know on a statement that we can include all the detail behind it. So we can include invoices behind it.
Well,
is that what you're talking?
What I'm thinking, kinda. So it's not so much about the details as in like the summary sections, but it's more when you create an order, right? And then you can click a button to view the invoice specifically for that order, right? So this setting that I'm referring to, it puts that invoice as its own standalone thing at the bottom of the invoice, the billing invoice, for each order. So each order's individual invoice is listed at the bottom of the billing invoice. So what I'm thinking is we could set that account to generate invoices every day. And so any day that there's no activity, it's just not going to do anything. But if there's a day with activity and we use that setting, it will send the full invoice for every order they processed that day, or every order they completed that day, to whatever billing emails you've set up.
Now, it would be one by ticket, or would it be if there was 2 tickets, it'd be one invoice with 2 tickets?
So it would do it. It would be the invoice would be generated, I believe, in like the wee hours of the morning. So it would be probably a little after midnight at the end of the day. So for the previous day, so it would include everything that you finished that day. So say on Monday, I finished 3 orders for this account, whatever, then a little bit after midnight, Tuesday morning, it's going to email them an invoice that lists all 3 of those orders.
Yeah, that won't solve that issue.
Not quite. Okay.
Yeah. Again, if there was only one thing completed that day, it'd be perfect.
So it'd have to be like separate PDFs.
Completed that day, it won't work.
Okay. All right. Okay. Give me a quick moment. I want to confer with somebody.
Okay.
Alan, I just had a quick question for you about it. So they're 100% opposed to receiving one PDF attachment, but it has multiple pages. They will not allow that.
Their system, their automated system doesn't allow that. They have, in effect, typically in an invoice, think of a plumber as opposed to us. A plumber comes out, he gives you an invoice, you pay the $400 and you're fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're thinking. We have a plumber come out, he did his job, he gave me an invoice, and that goes into the system. That event goes back to the office, the doctor's office, for approval by their financial person inside their system.
Okay.
So once they say it's approved, they'll pay that invoice. The problem is that their system will not accept 2 invoices in one email.
Yeah, so I want to reiterate something though. First and foremost, you do not have to be doing this on an outside program at all. So we have the ability to disguise it to say invoice instead of statement. The only thing that we won't be able to do, like you said, is automate them being one by one by one. But you will be able to go into their payment tab and send those individual invoices yourself. Unfortunately, that is manual, but at least you're not going to a different invoicing software.
Yeah, that would be great if I could just send them a PDF that just had, in effect, the total for the month. That's really it. It's not the beginning balance, not the ending, not a statement, because a statement starts with a balance, activity, ending balance.
Yeah, totally understand.
Yeah, they just want something. I mean, that's what I've been getting away with anyway. It's just being done through a third party. Who do I need to talk to have that created for me, at least for these specific customers?
Yeah, so Alan, you can actually put in a support ticket, and if you like, mention my name, and we'll take a look at it, and we'll get you set up.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. And I think there may be a few new names. So if you weren't here before, or if you're not aware, along the bottom of your Zoom window, there's a row of buttons. One of those buttons is labeled reactions, and it has a heart icon. If you click on that, it will show you another button called raise hand. If you click on that, it will raise your hand and give us a notification, and then we can call on you to take your question.
I do have a second question
Okay.
If nobody right now. Completely different subject.
Yep.
I was at a meeting last week with MFM, and I was talking to the group, and I'm considering putting in computer screens and scanners at my finishing stations. And they were showing me somebody had it on their screen that was a smart user, but I'm not sure because when I log in, I don't clock in, so I don't really see what an employee sees. Mm-hmm. But what they were showing is that they didn't really have to clock in and clock out to change stations. That's our issue. We have people who may start on doing laundered shirts, and then they move over and they're doing maybe hand press shirts, which is a completely different station. Mm-hmm. Want to be able to, when they change stations, they need to be able to pick it on the screen, obviously. So these would probably be touch screens with a scanner attached. The details of that I don't know exactly up front, but how do I set that up so that it asks, so that they can hit that button and change the job? Maybe I don't even have the jobs defined properly, but I'm not exactly sure what I need to do to be able to do that, because the ultimate thing will be to track their productivity and for what they're working on.
Okay. So I think there's sort of two elements to what you're talking about there. One is tracking time spent under different job codes. Mm-hmm. Or jobs. So if I'm logged in under detailing, I'm doing detailing work, or I'm logged in as pressing, so on. The other aspect is you're asking about switching between those functions on a given station, right? So maybe I do a couple hours detailing, and then I'm going to switch over to pressing, but I'm going to be at the same workstation, the same computer to do both. Is that kind of the scenario you have in mind there?
Be another station.
Another station?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we're adding a station, then it's and the reason I thought you might have been talking about the same station was I thought I heard you say something about like switching to the other, like switching to pressing while you're at the computer.
Well, yeah, not having I'm going from like laundered shirts, which are on a buck, to a hand press shirt, which is like with an iron and a ironing board.
Sure.
So it's nowhere near the buck. I mean, it is, because we're just not that big, but it's a fully functioning separate station, which in anticipation, each one would have their own computer screen, potentially allow them to, clock in at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day clock out, or for lunch. But then during the day, because we only have, 13 people in production, they do multiple things. So it would be helpful if, one, I knew where they were. Plus, when I'm trying to track, okay, you were doing shirts, and we did 100 shirts. and you did it in 2.5 hours or whatever.
Yeah, productivity.
And I know their productivity during that time. Then they switch and they go to another station. Now they're going to do, let's just say pants. It's simpler. We'll just call them pants. So they're going to go over and do pants, completely different station. They're still clocked in, but they're going to change the work they're doing. And now all of a sudden, but I need to know when they switched over to doing pants, so I know how productive they were on pants. If I never see them switch, then I can't really find productivity.
Okay, so the way in Smart that you track employees switching between tasks or jobs like that is in fact through the time clock. The jobs are intimately connected with the time clock functionality.
Yep.
So you clock out of one type of job and clock into the other type. So when they make that switch from detailing to pressing or whatever they're switching, it's actually necessary that they clock out and clock back in under the new job in order for you to be able to track that activity.
Okay, because they're changing stations.
Well, it's because they're changing jobs, but yeah, sure, you can think of it that way. Yeah, same idea.
Is there anything because right now I don't know what they see. I guess I could actually call somebody or just do a ticket and have somebody show me because right now, and I don't want to bother everybody else with this. I don't know that they have an option. It basically just says, do you want to clock in or clock out? It doesn't really give them an option. Is there a switch that I flip that now allows them to start picking jobs? Or if I don't have the jobs defined, is there I think I have the jobs defined because, I separate CSRs from, production people and from cleaners and, and drivers and that. So there already are jobs set up. I don't know that I have enough. I'm just saying.
I would guess that what you actually have set up are their departments rather than their jobs. And what's missing is that their jobs do need to be configured. And you can do that in payroll settings. It should be fairly self-explanatory in the interface there, but as I said, support can absolutely help you out with that.
So it's in the settings and then go into payroll and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And and once I set up and start to make jobs, then it'll start to ask them about jobs. Which job are they performing?
Yeah, I believe it's automatic.
Just automatic.
Once it exists.
Very good. And then and then once I get those set up, it'll know what they're scanning. So at that point in time, the productivity will be there. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
Yeah, you can mute me again.
Okay. All right. Do we have anybody else in the queue? Who else has a question? Please raise your hand and we'll call on you and talk about your issue. Zachary. All right. Let's see.
Hello, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Okay.
Guess I can start my video.
Yeah. Oh, hey, there he is.
I'm going to follow up on a question Erica asked in regards to the history screen and the piece count that pops up when you hover over the order. It's helpful. We use it all the time. Are there any plans to build a report around that functionality in that if the number changes, if the number ever changes, it'd be really helpful if we were notified, or I could go to a report that showed me like, hey, 2 extra pieces were added to this order randomly. And then at the end of the day, I've also got a 2-piece undetailed order that's missing. It would just make investigation a lot easier, as opposed to me having to go to every single order and hover over it and look like, hey, did the piece count change here?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So that I believe we have a feature request on file to add those original piece counts to a KPI somewhere. As far as I'm aware, it's not being worked on at the moment. But I'm glad you brought that up. I agree. I think it would be great to add that to the reporting system. It'll help with accountability and research, and can potentially reduce losses here and there. So yeah, I'll go ahead and advocate for that improvement for you. and we'll see if maybe we can get that in the pipeline.
Thank you. I probably put in that feature request, so maybe I'm just.
It could be. I may have written it for you. Yeah. All right.
Thank
yeah,
you.
I'll definitely put that in. Absolutely.
And then just one other question.
Sure.
If there's no one else, if there's someone else in the queue, we can go to them and you can come back to me.
I don't think I see anybody. Okay.
All right. We have an issue with the amount of brands that we have. My team I've tried to work with them on staying focused and making sure that they don't create like extra unnecessary brands. They misspell something by a single letter. And I'm just curious, I guess more like to the group, does anyone else have this issue where you're creating extra brands, or your people aren't paying attention, or your database is kind of filled with like extra brands that just clog up your system?
Yes.
I think I see Erica shaking her head. Yes.
Yeah, I've certainly heard from at least a handful of clients. But I personally have heard from a handful of clients who have had similar concerns, and I think I even worked with you a while back to help try and find a way to clean those up.
Oh yeah, good call.
Yeah, I think the intent behind the way Smart's set up is ideally you would start this practice when you first go live with Smart, and by this practice I mean the following: in the brands module, there's a column for verified. So periodically, maybe daily, weekly, whatever. And again, I'm assuming you just went live with Smart, so you only have the default brands. Everything in there is correct to start with. So then maybe your first week, maybe a couple of detailers add some new brands. You'll be able to find those pretty easily from your fresh brand list. And then you can verify them, correct the spelling, delete them, wherever it makes sense. And if we maintain that, then the database is fairly easy to keep in control. However, there is not really a great option available at the moment in Smart for managing these after it's been a few years and you have several thousand brands that don't belong. So that's another thing that I'd like to look into. I think we should find a solution for that. So I don't know what a feature request to handle that would look like right now, but I'm going to add it to my docket, and I'll see if I can come up with some sort of idea for how we can handle that.
Okay, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, certainly.
I know it's an issue that we created ourselves, so it's kind of like it's tough. It's not your fault, but if there was any way to help us, I'd appreciate it. And I guess just a continuation of that is when even if because I've done this, I've gone in, I've cleaned up brands, and I've like disabled them, but they actually still show up on the search if I'm like on this item search. Yeah. So I've still got like 4 or 5 just polos there, and they would potentially have to search through. So they disappear when you hide them. They disappear from the detailing screen, but they remain on the search screen.
Okay.
So just as
that's good to note. Yeah, I appreciate that info. I may not have noticed that myself when testing, so I'm glad you pointed that out. I'm going to make a special note about that right now.
Thank you, and thank you for doing this webcast.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for joining. We appreciate it. Yeah, okay. So, Erica, I think you had more questions?
Yes, I do. I do apologize.
Hey. I'm sorry, we didn't mean to skip over you.
No, that's fine. I just have a lot of questions, and
Sure.
And I think that it will be helpful for everybody, at least that they already know. One of the question is also, I don't know if we do have the tools personal in my company, but I noticed that you can actually take a picture of the item when you're invoicing. We did request the QR, and we got the camera, but when we try to take a picture, we put the QR, you scan it, put the item, scan it, and supposedly automatically it will make the picture, but it's not creating the picture automatically. So I don't know if we are doing something wrong on our end, or if it's something that we have to get more things, or the QR it has to be specifically in a plastic, or I don't know. I don't know how it works.
So just for anybody who's not familiar, what Erica's describing is our auto photo feature, where essentially there's a printout that has a QR code configuration on it. You print this out, you place it in view of your camera, and Smart, whenever it reads that QR code, it tells the camera not to take a picture. And then when the QR code gets blocked, it takes a picture. So if you put a garment over the QR code, it just snaps the photo for you and adds it to the order that you're detailing. So Erica, as far as your issue, it sounds like it's just a particular configuration issue on that computer. It might be that the QR code needs to be moved or something. There's a lot of little idiosyncratic sort of quirks about how it works. So you have to kind of get things just right. But once you do, it works pretty well. So I can't really help you troubleshoot it here. But if you put in a support ticket, we can absolutely get that working for you.
Oh, okay, thank you. And another question, real quick. I know that I know how to play a little bit with the reports, but one of the reports that I would love to have, and I don't know if anybody will have that issue, is the racking report. Sometimes they rack it in the wrong place, so they are not racking, but we know that it's rack. So I need to know about that, what they say actually rack the items, or who rack it, or things like that. Is there any report for racking?
Yeah, there's an entire category of KPI reports called rack logs that can help with that. It's another thing that's a little, I don't want to say tricky, but it takes a little bit of know-how to set up a good rack log to help find the information, the kind of information you're looking for. So it's another thing I would recommend you contact support when you need one of those reports, and we can help you set up a report for, to find a specific order, and also we can help you set up some general reports that you can check just periodically.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yep. Okay. So has anyone else got anything at the moment?
I just sent something into the chat. It's Marlene. How are you?
Oh, hi, Marlene.
Hey, nice to see you in person. So this ended up on my desk last week. Can you see these?
Yeah.
Okay. So sorry, muted myself. What are these being used for? Because when we had that non-woven tag a couple of years ago, we stopped using it. So this looks like something new. That would be my first question. And then I had a question about cameras and damaged photos and additional photos, and the cumbersomeness of taking the photo, the auto photo of the garment, but then being able to go back and after we've detailed the item, recognizing that, there's discoloration, there's ink stains, missing button, and best practice to go back and capture that on a camera. So 2 questions.
Okay. So let's see. The first one with the tag. So first of all, you said that appeared on your desk. Is that something somebody sent you? Did we send you that?
Well, I think somebody on my team told me that we ordered new barcodes, a new roll, and that in the roll, this came in this little, cocaine bag. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was just a sample of some barcoded tear-off tags that we produce. I'm not the best person to talk about the tear-off tag options.
Okay.
So I'm going to pass you off to Gina for that one. So bear with us a moment.
We can do it off the call unless everybody's going to
Marlene.
benefit. Hi, who's that?
This is Gina.
Oh, hi, Gina.
Yeah, so those are newer. They're probably maybe a year old now. They're our version of temporary tags. So, usually when you heat seal and you have like a silk scarf, you can't find anything to put a heat seal on it.
Right.
The old way, you would just take a heat seal, kind of stick it on like a wet strength paper and pin it to the item.
An eye opener flag from Cleaner Supply,
Exactly.
which is
Yes.
what we're doing now. So that seems
Yep.
like a really good option for
Yes.
us.
I tell them all the time, if my dad's cleaners was still open, I would be buying those off the shelves because we
Right.
constantly were making our own temporaries. So that's all they are, is just temporary barcodes. They're about $35 for 1,000 of them. So
Okay.
yeah, they're cost effective.
So can you call me, and I have to get a printer and kind of get that set up, and I'd like to use that. But how does that, see, the last time we were doing this and we were using those other barcodes, which were wider, the system went back and forth and was getting screwed up between the heat seal barcode and the temporary barcode. Like I couldn't use heat seal barcodes and then print a temporary tag. Otherwise, it printed a temporary tag for the whole order. Now, this is going back maybe 2 years, so we just stopped using that tag printer.
Okay.
We just disconnected them.
You guys just use heat seals now?
Yes, and then I'll take a pre-printed little barcode and heat seal it to an eye opener flag that says, remove the buttons or something.
Yeah.
So that
either way, I highly recommend what you're doing now versus the old way of doing like some temporary with the zebras and some heat seals. So the way you're doing it now is great. These temporaries would just help you in, not having to make all those silly temporary ones. So we would have, we would make a sequence and make sure that that sequence doesn't run into the heat seals that you already have or purchase. Do you get your heat seals from us?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So then we would already know your sequence.
Okay. So wait, I'm confused. Are you saying stay with what I'm doing and just use the barcodes and heat seal them onto the eye opener tags? Or like when I have a scarf, I have to take a temporary tag and barcode it. But if I use that little tag, that to me seems to be more efficient.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that scarf is on the same order as whatever, a dress. So the dress gets barcoded, heat sealed, and the scarf, how do you split the two?
Basically, think of it as an unsticky heat seal. So it acts the same exact way.
But do we get an option when we're detailing the order?
The computer doesn't know the difference. The computer doesn't know if you're scanning a heat seal that's stuck to an item or if you're scanning a heat seal that's not stuck to an item.
Okay, got it. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, can I give you they know, I think they have my phone number or something, and we can talk about how to, Maurice, Meurice.
Oh, perfect.
Marlene.
Got you.
And 516-369-3395. And then, what was my other question? Oh, the question about the camera. So we use the camera, and then we also use the camera to take, I don't know who I direct this to, but taking photos of damages because the camera is set high. We're like standing there and holding the garment up to the camera. What's the alternative to that? Because it's not efficient.
Yeah, I think I think really actually the best option is just using the annotations in Smart in the detailing window. Where you add alterations, and you can also add damages and spots, that kind of thing. The photo, Smart really only supports one photo per garment. And there's not really a good option to do what you're looking to do, but I do think the annotations, they cover it. Obviously, you don't get a photo out of it of the damage or the spot, but you have you have it on record.
It's always nice, digital photographs back up.
Yeah.
So when you send something, when you annotate it on the garment and say damaged, when you have a photo of that damage, game over. Here's where it was. We didn't do this. And it doesn't happen that often because what we actually do is we pick up the phone and we call the client. It's called, the cover your ass rule. But if you had the ability to even take a photo, let's say we take a photo on our iPhone and then upload it to that account, is that a possibility?
Not in Smart.
Okay.
We have some feature requests to this effect on file, and I think it's something that we may look at because I think there's enough demand for it, and I think I couldn't speculate really on the timing, but after a couple of upcoming projects, we may find some appetite to address the photo functionality a bit. a lot of clients want to be able to send photos to customers.
Right.
And I think if we were to add that, we would have to support more than one photo per item. And so you kind of get what you're looking for out of that, you know, as a side effect almost. So yeah, this is something that, this is something I'm definitely, we do have some requests on file. I will dig those up this afternoon and refine
There's no
them.
urgency. Don't worry about it. I mean, whenever you get to it. But I guess I have one more question. Can I get? Okay. So in your reporting module, you know, we have purple client, top echelon of, you know, revenue, best client ever. When I detail a wedding gown that we charge $2,000 to clean, that client, new, never been to us before, immediately goes into the purple, bless you, immediately goes into purple best client. They've only been there once, and that whole reporting and revenue of best to worst, I find that just doesn't work. It's not really relative, or it's not accurate.
I gotcha. Yeah, so you're referring to the customer demographics, and they're color coded. It divides customers into quintiles, so 20% chunks, right? Based on their spending. Now it's based on, if I remember correctly, it's a monthly average, and the way the calculation is done is such that the customer's, I guess you could say, apparent average comes out higher when they only have one order than you would expect. So once they get that second order, it actually corrects the average and should put them in the right demographic group. But yeah.
You know why it doesn't work? Because in that month, if you're doing a marketing campaign and that person comes up, and typically when people bring us gowns, they're one and done. So now they have gone into my monthly, you're the best customer ever, and then they're gone. So that marketing campaign for that client who lived very far away, I don't know, I just find the reporting just not to be the best. I don't know if anybody else has ever commented on that.
I've never heard that from anyone.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Denise. I'm in the marketing department.
Hi.
We are aware of that issue, and we have adjusted our marketing accordingly. It's been a little while since I've worked with that best customer campaign, but I think we're checking on whether they've had next orders. But if you don't mind, we'll get in touch with you after that. And
no problem. I mean, these are just more suggestions. I'm not complaining. I mean, I love Smart. I love everything you do. I know you have stuff, you know, in the pipeline you're working on. It's just revenue reports do not really jive. I think they could be better. That's all. Best customer, revenue reports, looking at all the colors. That's all.
Yep. And yes, we already have that noted. And when and if there is a future report update system-wide, then that's a good thing to have on our list. So thanks.
Sure. And I think I jumped on the call when somebody was talking about all of the, was that the manufacturers, that I have 15,000 manufacturers, and kind of scrubbing that and getting it down to the real world. That would be good if you ever come up with how to figure that out.
Yeah. So, and what I was saying, I don't know if you caught my answer to that, but yeah, I will, I'm going to submit a request to come up with a solution for that, to make it easier to manage duplicate brands, misspelled brands, all that kind of stuff.
Zach said he had a potential resolution to one of our leads.
All right. Okay, we are closing in on the end here. I see somebody's got their hand up. Zach.
Hey, hello again. Not to dominate take over the time, but Marlene, you asked a question, and I feel like I could share what we do. Maybe it'll help. You asked if there was a way to capture damage. Yeah, you take the main picture, and it's pretty much, it stays the same. Like, we don't like to change that, but what you can do is you can. And it's really simple. You just create a note connected to the garment, and within the note, you can take, you can take 10 pictures within one note, and it stays connected to that order, like at that point in time. And so anytime we find damage, in addition to using the annotations, which we do that, like we document, tear, discoloration, anything like that. I also have my people, we take pictures of everything, and it's really quick. And you just click on the garment, the yellow pop-up thing says note, like we're like pick up or assemble, like all those things.
Right.
Note. And then within that note, there's a symbol for the camera. So you can take as many pictures as you want, and it'll be there for as long as, Smart has their servers operating. So.
Okay. I mean, we do it now, but I find it to be a very cumbersome process. If it was, like you hit enter and it takes a picture, and then maybe if it gave you the option to take additional pictures before you moved on to the next item. But yeah, what you're saying is you have to go to the notes and you have to create a special this and a this and that. Yeah, it's just I was looking for a shortcut. I think my team does that. I'm looking now. I'll figure it out later. But the other thing is timeout or something. What do we have? A couple of minutes? Oh, hi, Richard Aviles. The other thing is when we're adding, like we want a pop-up note for one particular delivery. This client is sending in a pair of pants in the bag. Don't clean it. They only want it shortened. In order for me to get that pop-up note, I have to go into special delivery requirement, unless I'm doing this incorrectly. But this is what I was told by Smart way back. Create a special delivery and then go down and, oh God, I forgot what I have to do now. I have to have it in front of me. Special delivery and then scroll all the way down and hit whatever that bottom one is. I don't know if it's the same in everybody's. In order to get a pop-up. So if anybody could teach me a new and better way where I can get like a pop-up like that in the client's account right away without having to go through maybe 5 or 6 different keystrokes, that would be great.
So Marlene, on that, what makes a note pop up like the way what you just showed on screen is it's actually an attribute that the note type has, and we can assign that attribute to any note type in your system, or we can create new note types that are specifically for that purpose. We can't really save you like the number of clicks to get to where you choose the note type, but we could maybe set up some of the types that are closer to the top of the list to be pop-ups, or something that might help optimize a little bit at least.
Okay, I can talk to somebody about that offline.
Yeah, we can help you with that.
Put in a service request for me.
All right.
No, I'll do it. It's okay.
Okay. Let's see. I thought I saw somebody else. Richie, did you have a question a minute ago? I think you're muted.
Yep. I had a question for Zach. Zach, when you create a note and you add pictures of a damaged item, once that order goes back to the customer, I'm assuming that note still stays in the profile, or does it drop off? Because we write a lot of notes and we're trying to actually prioritize what we're writing when detailing a customer's garment. But if someone drops off, let's say 20 pieces, and we detail them and we create notes assigning them to each piece with all of this damage information, will those notes disappear once the order has been picked up, or once that that item is back with the customer, or will they always populate there?
Well, you mean like when you log into the customer close tracker, will they pop up immediately?
Yeah, exactly.
I think if the order's been sent back, then no, it won't populate. But there's you go to the history and you can still go find them. And I guess, Mike, you correct me if I'm wrong though, but I feel like if I were to go back into an old order and open up a note that is supposed to populate with the attribute that Marlene was talking about, like we want it to pop up, and you leave it open and then you go in again, would it then pop up even from a closed order? That makes sense? I feel like I can reopen an old note so that it would pop up.
Yeah,
I've
so
never tested
basically,
it. An interesting question.
hey guys, so basically, once the order is closed and it's picked up, it basically closes the note. And like you said, you can go to the history, you can go find the note. But if it is a pop-up note, and you go to that closed order and hit reopen, it will then show that note when you enter the account again. So you're all right.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Sure thing.
So we're coming towards the end of the Q&A. So if anyone has any last minute questions or anything they want to let us know now. Otherwise, you can feel free to just kind of make any statements or remarks. We do hope to keep doing this and kind of keep this ongoing. So if it's beneficial, if it helps you guys, feel free to give us some feedback after the event. We'll send you guys out an email, and then we'll keep trying to give you updates and reminders of when these things are going to happen.
Chris, quick question. Does SMART have any documentation as to the best practices on notes and issues and kind of assigning those attributes to certain notes if they pop up? Because I know that there are a lot of different options, and we're trying to kind of filter the number of different ways that we do something. So what's most effective? But I haven't found anything.
So we don't have anything specific about the best practices for how to use notes because it can vary based on how you operate in your business. Just like you heard what Zach said, when they do damages, they use notes. When it just depends on how you're operating. The best method to kind of get a good structure into place is either to schedule a call with someone like me or Mike, and then we can kind of come up with a plan and see what works best for you. You just let us know when you want to do that call, and we'll make it happen. Yeah, so the most important thing about the note types are that the drop downs can be changed. You can create as many note types as you like, and we can define how they operate. If they're pop-ups, if they're just something that notes on the side of the account, we can control all of that. So that's just some things you'll probably have to learn when you're creating new note types and kind of what you're looking for. But it's definitely a conversation that you can have, and we can kind of structure something that works for you. All right, guys. So it looks like we're coming towards the end here. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I really appreciate all you guys' feedback and your questions. If you guys want this to continue, keep showing up every week and just let us know if there's anything else we could do for you. And just remember, if you have anything immediate, feel free to reach out to the support team. And don't forget to respond to that feedback email after the event. You guys have a great day, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone. It's good to see you all. Have a great week.